Hi, my name is Genie. I'm a goal-setting coach and author, and this is my podcast, Dreams Through Reality. Dreams Through Reality is a podcast that is also based on my book, Dreams Through Reality, the 4 Keys to Living the Life of Your Dreams. In this podcast, I discuss, manifesting, goal setting, and techniques for removing blocks, hypnosis, subconscious mind, the levels of mind, and other things that are related to the field of manifestation, the law of attraction, and the field of infinite possibilities. So the topic today is about the field of information. So I grew up with some kind of, I think they call it clairvoyance, but basically now I'm starting to understand that everybody has this ability. So I've been taking, I'm a student now of magnetic recode or conscious education. So anyway, in this they discuss more about the levels of the mind. So there's 3 levels of the mind: the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, or self-conscious mind, and then there's the superconscious or the higher self, which is connected to the field of information. And this information is everywhere around us. It's similar to the connection that you have, when you talk about someone and you think about someone and they pop up. So we are connected to some degree to each other, to that in that information field. And I have a few examples that this thing really is legit. Because I'm one of those people, I'm very, very skeptical. I used to be very skeptical before. Even as a kid, I was always questioning things. But that is good though. Don't take my word for it. Just investigate on your own. And that's the reason I also became a Buddhist, because Buddhists, especially the type of Buddhism that I practice, it's always try it out first and see if it's valid or not. Try to experience it first. So when I was growing up, I always have this ability that when I get close to someone, I can actually read their minds. And looking back, I think it's because I connect to my higher consciousness, or the field, the higher consciousness, which is connected to the field of information. So when I was younger, I would literally be close to someone and then I would just pick up thoughts in their head. And I think my sister to some degree as well had this. So we were just, I would be thinking about something, or she would be thinking about something, and then we would hum it. Or basically, it's like there was a connection there. We slept together, we shared one bed as kids. We had just one room before. When we got older, in our late teens, we had separate rooms, which is good. But we had this connection because we were pretty much close to each other, So we were just lifting each other's thoughts. I was reading her thoughts, she was reading mine, and then we would practice on each other because she was very, very into the occult back then, and I think she's a higher clairvoyant, if you believe those things, because she was she had abilities that were beyond my abilities at that time. Anyway, she would say what number am I thinking in my head, or what card do I have in my head, and literally I would say, it's a 7 of spade or something like that, and I would be so accurate. And then she would say what song am I thinking about, and I'm like, this is the song you're thinking about. Or I would start humming the thing, whatever is in her thought. So I think we had that connection, but it's not just her, it's me as well, because when I got close to someone, with my cousin too, we were just connected. I would just be lifting things from her mind, her thoughts. And then it happened with I think my boyfriends too. Yeah, with my boyfriends too. Like, we picked up the same exact gift, except like I gave him like book 1 and he gave me book 2 or something like that. Yeah, because for some reason I follow people's frequencies, or I can go down to their like brainwave or something, which is kind of funny. He's my current boyfriend now. No, he's the one that we have some connection, but he's kind of hard to penetrate, even for my powers. Let's just but because I use my lower consciousness for that. But I think my goal will be to connect with him more on that plane. Yes, I think he reads me more than I read him. Anyway, which is really kind of annoying if you think about it, because I want to be able to read him rather than the other way around. So I digress. So I've always had that ability. And the reason why I think I have this ability is because one time in college, so this classmate of mine, he was sitting next to me, and back when I was like 17, 18, I was pretty pure. Like, I was like not thinking of stuff, it's like I was blank. And at that time, clear thoughts, nothing. And I was sitting next to him, and then I just had that impression. I actually lifted thoughts from his head, and he or I accessed a level of my mind which was connected to his field as well, like radio frequencies. But I was picking it up, and I just was listening in or tuning into his thoughts. And I said, "You're thinking about becoming a teacher, right?" That's what I said. And he said, "What? How did you know that?" Because he was transmitting, and I was next to him, and I just heard it, And he said, "How did you know that?" I was literally thinking about that thing, and it was very specific. And I was like, I couldn't really explain it, but I could. But I didn't explain it to him. Like, I could explain it to myself because I've lived with it, for most of my life. And also, I would talk to people, and then they would just be sending me their thoughts, like, oh, I can literally. And that sometimes it kind of freaked me out, because like I was like, why don't people have this ability? Why do I have this? It's kind of weird. And at that point, in my late teens, I wanted to fit in, so I shut it off. Like, for many years, I just shut it off, because I was like, yeah, this is just too freaky for me. I was in allied medicine at that time, like a bachelor's degree in healthcare. And I was like, yeah, I want to be more scientific, and let's not delve into the weird and the occult and stuff. So I turned it off, shut it off, or so I thought. But anyway, it's back again, because I've been meditating more and more, and because I'm more comfortable. And this is my dog Bacon. He just butted in. Are you okay, Bubba? You want to talk to the people? If you can hear like a dog whining, that's Bacon. Okay. Okay, so he needs a kiss on the forehead. So I think it's back on again for the past 2 years. Mainly because, not past 2 years, but maybe since 2018. So what happened was that sometime in 2018, like, I had no idea that the guy that I was in a long-term relationship with was seeing someone else behind my back. And so what happened was he literally left me for someone else, and then he just disappeared from my life. And at that time, I was like, what's happening? Like, I literally was just blindsided. I just didn't know like it was going to happen to me, you know. But a few months prior, like sometime in September of 2017, before he left me for someone else, I did feel that, and it was kind of distressing for me. He went back, you know, to my apartment. We were living separately at that time. Our plan was for me to move in with him. So at that time, he was visiting, and I kid you not, I was so distressed because even if he was physically there, energetically, he was like made of thin air. Like I could not feel him. I could not feel him energetically. And I even told him that. I said, this is so distressing to me. Like, you're here, but you're not really here. Like, I can't feel you. You have no essence. Like, he's like a ghost, essentially. And of course, he couldn't explain it. And maybe, I don't know, at that time, maybe he started cheating on me at that time. I don't really know. But for sure, I'm pretty sure around March or April, he started acting more wacky or weirder. Like his behavior was just weird. Like it seemed like he was guilty of something looking back at it. But anyway, so I did not see him from the last time I saw him was in May of 2018. And I did speak to him like after that, but I didn't see him physically. And then he just completely like radio silence after July of 2018. So I was caught in the dark. I'm like, because I didn't know he was seeing someone else at this point, and he just said like, you know, I don't want to see you anymore. I'm like, why? What? And then he didn't really explain it, but his behavior was just wacky, and he just disappeared from my life. And I was like, what is going on? I can't explain it. And I literally was looking for answers, but he literally unfriended me from, like, he told his relatives to unfriend me because we were friends, and he told his relatives to unfriend my relatives. So I think he told his aunt to unfriend me. And I think at that point, I may have been blocked from his mom's account or unfriended. Definitely unfriended, but not blocked because I was still seeing posts. And anyway, because it was too heartbreaking, I literally didn't look at his mom's feed. His feed, his Facebook disappeared. His feed disappeared. I didn't look at it like for months. But then one day I was living in Denver at that time, I think, or Colorado Springs, I forgot. But one day around August or September of 2018, I just woke up. And the instructions were pretty clear. I was kind of weird. I just woke up and then I just knew, like, the instructions were like, look at his mom's Facebook. And I'm like, really? Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a look at his mom's Facebook. And I just looked at it and I scrolled and I saw another girl there. And he was with another girl that I have never met in my life. And I'm like, oh, is that the reason? Like, why he left me? Because of this girl? And then so at that point, I just knew like, oh, okay. But at that point, I didn't know still that he was seeing her even when he was still with me. All I knew was that he just disappeared from my life. And so I looked at it and I'm like, oh, okay, the voice was right. It's pretty freaky if you think about it. And then so I just left it at that. I was heartbroken. I'm like, I can't look at his mom's Facebook. I actually was so traumatized that when I go on Facebook, I was shaking, you know? Like every time I go to Facebook, on my Facebook, I was just shaking. It was pretty traumatic for me. And that's how bad it was. So I'm like, I'm not going to touch Facebook anymore. I'm not going to go on Facebook. You know, I can't take this anymore. I'm like, what else am I going to discover? And then sometime in December or January of December 2018 and or January 2019. So the voice told me again, it says, look at his mom's Facebook. There's something there, like the girl's pregnant. And I'm like, what? So I woke up with that information. Literally with that information, I went on the Facebook, and apparently this girl had gotten pregnant and gave birth to the baby. And I was like, oh my God, I totally did not expect this at all. And I kid you not, I was not scrolling. There was a point, I think, when I found out about the other girl, I was trying to figure out who is this other girl. So I did take a look at her feed. I found out her name and stuff like that. Just for my peace of mind, because I was literally taken aback. I was, but then I stopped doing it because it was just too much. It was traumatic. And the fact that I was opening Facebook because a voice was telling me, or the field of information, field of information was there. I picked up on it, whatever, and telling me to open that Facebook. And I think it was so accurate. I think the girl gave birth just maybe less than a week, or maybe just a few days before or something. So it was accurate. And then it got posted, and I'm like, oh wow, this is really accurate. Where did I get this information? Because I was no longer connected to this guy anymore, literally. I was so traumatized. I could not open Facebook. I was literally traumatized, and I was not opening Facebook. I would maybe sporadically from time to time, but it was literal. I was shaking. I would shake literally. It was just so traumatizing. And so that was it. I was like, yeah, I can't take this anymore. This is too much. I was so devastated. And a few months later, it told me again. I was sleeping, and then when I woke up, it told me look at the Facebook again, look at it. And I'm like, I can't do it, but curiosity, it was pretty clear when I woke up. I just instantly knew. I had information that he had gotten married. I don't know where it came from, but it just said, look at the Facebook, look at it. And I went on Facebook again, and he had a picture of him. I think it was around March 2019. He had married the girl, I think. So I forgot if, so the sequence might be, the dates may be off or something, but it was at least 3 times when the voice told me, or that field of information that was floating in the field of that field that connects everybody and that higher plane. So it told me yeah, look at the Facebook, and he's married. And I'm like, what? Where did that come from? I didn't even know. And I kid you not, he got married, and there was a post there, and I'm like, this is it. I cannot look at his mom's Facebook anymore. This is just too much. I can't. And then at that point, I was even more severely traumatized because, of course, he got married, and really, he got married, and we were together for almost 5 years, and we didn't get married, and then he marries this girl that he met, and he got pregnant, and so it was pretty traumatizing. And that's when I used the PS Tech. I did mention it in a previous episode. Do look it up, pstech.org. I used that technology because I was so traumatized. I was literally shaking. I couldn't open Facebook anymore, I was so done with social media. I was like, what else am I going to find out, if I do that, if I click on Facebook? And There were just days, I think, or maybe even months, I forgot, because that was like in 2018, 2019. I was just not posting, or if I was posting, it was just I had to force myself, because I would be shaking. I would literally, when I would look on Facebook, I was just so traumatized by this experience. I just couldn't do anything, I was just trembling, shaking, emotional. And I use PS Tech. That's a technology where it dissociates your emotions from the memories. And so when you have triggers, that the emotions, so they actually get disconnected from each other, so you can function. And not only that, the emotions also get lesser and lesser and lesser, and then eventually it fades. So I used it, and I used it for like 8 cycles or something, and from a 0 to 1,000 of not feeling well, I became like a 0 to 5, and then 0 to 3, and a 0 to 2. And then I wasn't triggered anymore. I was so shocked, like I was able to open Facebook. But again, I digress. So the topic is the field of infinite, not the field of infinite possibilities, but the field of information. And it is out there. We are connected to it to some degree, but we need to be in that state of, that higher state of mind where literally we're not thinking anything. We have no judgment. There's no thoughts. And I think I'm having more and more states like that, because I have been meditating for 15 years. And it just provides me with information. I just wake up with like, oh, I know what to do, And another thing too, which was kind of also another message from the universe too, or not the universe, but the field of information. Anyway, sometime in 2020, like early March, I just woke up. Like, at that time, like COVID was like, oh, is this going to be bad? Or like, we didn't know then. Before the shutdown, I think a week before everything shut down, or 2 weeks, I forgot the time frame. This was in 2020, early 2020. So I woke up and I just knew. So the information, the field of information said, this is going to be bad. This COVID is going to be bad. And actually he told me to like call CDC and tell them, like they have to do something. No, because this is going to be bad. This COVID is bad news. And I woke up with that information. I'm like, whoa, where did that information come from? And then at that point I wanted to call CDC, but I'm like, how do I call CDC? I mean, this may have already spread. And then maybe a week or 2 weeks later, like it was shut down, like the whole US was shut down. And so this might have been early 2020 still, when it was like we didn't know anything about the COVID. But I woke up with that information, that field of information that said, yeah, you are, this is going to be bad. This COVID thing is going to shut down everything, or something like that. It was the information that I got. So it proved to be accurate. Yeah, another thing too. Yeah, so this field of information, it's just kind of weird. So this was, sorry about that. This was around, I was eating, burping, drinking right now. Anyway, so sometime in maybe the first or second year of my relationship with my ex, so things were still really well, like it was fine, we were together and there were no signs of trouble. But I remember, like, I was in his childhood home. I was back in his childhood home, in his mom's home, and or mom's house, and I just received that, like, insight or information from the field of information. It came out of nowhere. Anyway, it was really jarring because like at that time me and my ex were still very much together, maybe second year of our relationship. We were talking about like marriage at that time. We were just together and inseparable as well. But I remember I was sitting there and then I just had that information trickle in and it just told me the strangest thing. And looking back, I didn't even ignore it or didn't even acknowledge it. It was just like information, and the information said like, you're not gonna marry this guy. And then I'm like, what? That's impossible. He's not gonna be the guy that you're gonna marry. At that time it was impossible because if during the early stages of our relationship we were really together, and so I just like, oh, okay, that's interesting thought, but I just thought nothing about it until a few years later when I'm like, oh my god, that information was literally correct and right. So what I'm saying is that there is a field of information and it's available to us, but we need to be in that higher state of life or higher vibration frequency, brainwave, whatever you call it. We have to be in that altered state of consciousness or another state of consciousness, not our regular beta, which is the active state right now when we're active and thinking and conscious. And that when we pause and we stop, that information actually trickles in. It actually trickles in. So anyway, I'm just going to be on, not really skeptical, but I'm just going to observe what's going to happen because it did give me another message, but it may take many more months or maybe a couple years, maybe, who knows. And I may or may not be able to prove this. Who knows, but it gave me another message. It's a personal message anyway. But yeah, and just, thinking about that too. There was another episode too where it gave me a weird message. So I meditate, right? So I do go into that altered state of consciousness. So what happened was, this was maybe 2 months before my mom passed away. So she passed away on a January of 2015, and I was meditating around November of 2014. Anyway, so I was meditating and I was like praying for my mom, and then I'm like, yeah, I hope she's happy and stuff. And I kid you not, I usually don't get visions when I'm meditating, but I saw her face and then she turned away and she was unhappy. She literally turned away from me. And I'm like, when I was meditating, I was like, I had no judgment of it. I'm like, whoa, that's weird. What does that mean? And then after 2 months, exactly 2 months after that, she passed away. So apparently she was sick already. We didn't know that she was sick. And she was like dying. She didn't tell us that she was sick. So when we found out, it was too late and she passed away. But yeah, that was like the information that was handed to me, which was like she was not happy and she turned her back away from me. And I'm like, what does that mean? So yeah, there is a field of information, and it does supply us with information that we need to know. And I'm using it more and more now. Like I actually like try to feel the energy and I'm more in tune with it. Sometimes it gives me like a direct message, and sometimes it gives me cryptic messages. But But more and more now, I just wake up with a solution. I'm like, I have a question like in the beginning of the day, or like I'm just like, I wonder what the solution is. And then boom, and when I wake up, usually when I wake up, I have the answer. So it's like, I guess when I sleep, I get connected to the field. And yeah, and anyway too, I did discover it's a more recent ability, when the people that have passed away and stuff, I can sort of like get information from them. It's like sort of like I'm like, dude, am I turning into a medium, dude? But yeah, it's not 100%, it just happens when it happens. I don't get messages all the time, but I do get messages, and which is pretty weird. Yeah. There's this one thing that I remember. So I had a friend, and unfortunately he passed away at the age of 27, and it was an accident, but he was in a coma for several months. And then I think he appeared to me in my dream or in a waking dream. This is a long time ago, 2016, 2017. And what he said was, he told me like he's only staying alive for his mother because his mother is not ready for him to go. And so I was kind of afraid to tell the mother that was the message, but I think I eventually did. And then I think the mom said, yeah, I got that message from other people as well, that, it's time to let him go. And I think he eventually died, I think, because the mom was at peace. But he stayed for several months. I don't know if it was up to a year. But yeah, he did like appear to me in my dream and said like he's only staying around for his mom, and something like, please tell her or something. And I'm like, okay, now I'm a medium. That is pretty strange and bizarre, but if you really look at it, we are connected to that field, and we just have to be no judgment, like right now I'm judging, but usually when I get these they call it downloads, I just call it insight. It's more than an insight actually, because it's pretty accurate. So I just call it getting messages from the field of information that connects everything and everyone. And I just connect to that field, when I'm not in that state of judgment, I guess, and when I'm not conscious, and I'm just like no thoughts, just pure awareness. And that's how I get connected, and everybody's connected to it. The only thing that's separating us from delving or connecting to this field of information is us, because we have so much judgment. It's like, oh, this is creepy, or oh, that's just so weird. So we have so much judgment, but we do have that ability, because our if we plug in our brains to electrodes, we literally have different brain waves. We have, and it shifts and changes. We could be on alpha, relaxed state, beta, the active state, or we could be in the delta or theta state when we're healing, or when we're like lucid dreaming, or other altered states. And of course we can get to those altered states using chemicals too, but it's not natural, and it probably destroys our cells. But yeah, everybody has that. They call it extrasensory perception, but it's not really extra. It's part of us. It's like the function of our brain and the function of us as human beings. The way that mother can sense that their child is in trouble, or the way that you can sense someone's intention, when they have like ill intentions, you can feel it. Oh yeah, because another example, so So I have so many examples now. So I was walking, like this was back in my hometown. So I was walking and I literally knew that the guy following me. And at that time, I wasn't too sure if there was someone really following me, but I got the information from that person that he was going to do something, maybe like snatch my purse or something. So what happened was I received that information. I'm like, this guy following me. And I wasn't sure at that time if there was really someone following me or if it was my imagination. I said, this guy has ill intentions. So what I did was, because I wanted to make sure there was really someone behind me, I turned around quickly and I walked in the opposite direction. And he was stunned when I turned around and looked at him. And then I just walked past him, and then he didn't even have time to react, and I just walked really fast. So apparently he had ill intentions, because he looked like that kind of guy that was really, he looked suspicious, and I just knew because he was following me and I could sense his intention. I detected it from the field of information. I got it, and then I just listened to it, turned around, and then just walked past him. And he was stunned. I saw his expression. He was like, whoa, he didn't expect that, actually. So that might have saved me as well from whatever he was intending, which he already told me. So I think what I got was that he was kind of intending to do it, but he was like waiting for the right timing. But I stunned him because I turned around to face him, and then I walked past him. So yeah, we all have that. And anyway, I think I have talked about the subject too much. I guess if you have any experiences like this, do email me, homeofgenie@gmail.com, HOMEOF, Genie, GENIE @gmail.com. Or look at my other resources and websites. I do have a lot, and I have a TikTok page at Mystic Genie 88. Mystic, MYSTIC, Genie, GENIE 88, Mystic Genie 88. And just check it out. Like I share my tips and techniques, manifesting, goal setting, coaching. I like it. I like more like, not really rational, but more logical approach to things. So the techniques that I use are the techniques that actually work, and it helps with goal setting. And also have a YouTube page, Genie Hermoso, GENIE, Hermoso, HERMOSO. I post everything there related to all of my podcasts and my books. Check out my book, Dreams to Reality, on Amazon, also under my name, Genie Hermoso, GENIE, Hermoso, HERMOSO. It's Dreams to Reality, the 4 keys. Look at my Amazon page as well. I do have an online course as well if you're into self-help, but with mostly the goal of reaching your goals and how do you get there. I have an online course about the 4 keys. My store is stan.store/MysticGenie88. So everything's there. My meditations are there. My workbooks are there. And I have an online course, the 4 keys, that has 4 modules. It discusses the 4 keys. It also has free meditation, free workbook, free action planner. And it's really the things that I use to manifest, and I teach everything there as well. And I also do group magnetic recode. I post it on YouTube, and you can also join me. I will be posting the times that I will be doing it. Right now I don't have a set time. I do it at least once a week, but because as I'm recording this it's actually Christmas Eve. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and do like, subscribe, and look at my other pages and listen to my other audios as well. Thank you.